morning, good morning. Good morning. I'm TJ Rose, founder and managing partner of Ironleaf Capital. When my wife and I moved back to New York City in 2022, the choice to join Robinhood was an easy one. Their outcomes are clear, and their reputation is sterling. But what's been most powerful to see up close is how driven people are to care. The world may want you to believe otherwise. Numbers of people giving to charity may be down, but at Robinhood, whether it's contributors, employees, grantees, or volunteers, there's a groundswell of people who care deeply about solving New York's toughest problems and delivering results. It starts at the top and permeates everything Robinhood touches, including the housing crisis we face, which brings us to this morning's final honoree. Last night, 85,000 people slept in shelters across New York City. That's Madison Square Garden, filled to the brim 4 times over. Those people need homes, and urgently. And housing vouchers are the most effective tool we have to place them. But they can only work if people can actually use them, and too often they can't. Nationally, about 40% of housing vouchers go unused. In New York, with a vacancy rate of just 1.4%, the challenge is even greater. For vouchers to work, every part of the system, from landlords to tenants to agencies to nonprofits, must coordinate. When even one thing goes wrong, a missing signature, a faulty smoke detector, homeless families pay the price. That's the problem Robinhood set out to solve when it seeded Anthos Home in 2022. Anthos Home is a matchmaker between landlords and voucher holders. They connect people ready to move with highly qualified apartments. They handle inspections and approvals. They help cover the costs that kill deals: repairs, back rent, moving expenses. This organization even pays landlords to hold a bank of units so they always have housing available when the next person walks through the door. They shorten move-in times and eliminate competition in the voucher market, guiding landlords and families through every single step. And once someone moves in, they stay involved for a full year, supporting tenants and landlords. No default, no miscommunications, no backsliding into the shelter system. This is a model that works. Over the past 3 years, Anthos has placed 840 people, that's 500 households, and another 150 in progress. And 100% of their clients remain housed a year later, 100%. Now Robinhood is helping them scale, expanding landlord outreach and investing the tools and data systems that make operations faster and more effective. The impact, what we know, is measurable across the board. The city saves money, less labor, less bureaucracy, more people move from shelters and unsafe living conditions into stable homes. Landlords see steadier incomes and increased property values, but there's a return on investment that no analysis can capture. Our next speaker knows this better than anyone. She was the very first person they placed in a new home. What you're about to hear is what really gets unlocked when someone receives the keys to their own apartment. It is my honor to present this Heroes Award to Anthos Homes and welcome Jaylen Jackson to the stage.
Good morning. I'm excited to be here today on behalf of Anthos Home to share my story with you. I've always been highly adaptable. I'm the kind of person that can take anything and turn it into something, which is helpful when you move around a lot. Both of my parents are New Yorkers, but by the time I was 6 years old, we moved everywhere from Connecticut to Alabama and many places in between. My mom had her hands full with 4 kids, the twins, my middle brother, and me. I'm the youngest. My dad, he drove a cement truck, worked in a junkyard, whatever he could find, but it was rarely enough to pay the bills. We got evicted a lot, but we stayed together. We would all sleep in one room at my grandmother's house, or on the floor of someone's basement. Sometimes we shuffled between aunties and uncles. For me, it wasn't too bad, because I never knew anything different. In fact, those will become my most prized memories with my parents, because the summer before the 7th grade, things got a lot worse. My parents had a fight that turned violent. All I knew was that my dad was gone, and the rest of us moved to a rat and roach-infested shelter in the Bronx. Here I am, 12 years old, leaving the shelter at 4:30 a.m. by myself to get to school in Queens by 7:45. It was at least a 2-hour commute, and a Metro card only gives you so many swipes. Some days, people gave me an extra swipe on their card, but others, I would have to get out at Lexington, walk to the 4 train, then find my way to the F. By the time we got a Section 8 housing voucher and moved to Brooklyn, my mother was in a new relationship that started her addiction. She kept what little food we had under lock and key. I showed up hungry to school so often that teachers and social workers repeatedly called CPS. But every time they came knocking, miraculously, there were groceries in the house. My mom would tell the caseworker I was lying, and off they would go. When she rented out my room to a strange man, my brother gave me his bed, and he started sleeping on the floor. We had a lock on the bedroom door, and we were living off of his $20 weekly college stipend. He was really trying to hold us together. We would share a beef patty or a chicken sandwich. He would buy us soap and wash our laundry. But by the time I was in the 8th grade, it was too much. He dropped out of college, and I ended up in foster care. I went willingly. I thought, this is my chance to have a normal family, clothes, and food. I thought it was gonna be peaches and cream. But when I arrived, they already had a bunch of foster kids, all boys, aged 6 to 10. At one point, I was literally sleeping in the hallway. Soon enough, I was babysitting and cooking, getting them ready for school, making sure they brushed their teeth and made it to football practice. I was less of a foster kid and more of a foster parent. High school was my escape. I danced, ran track, took AP classes, and made the honor roll. Anything to keep me out of the house. When I was 17, my aunt and uncle took me in. He was an Army vet, so there wasn't a lot of room for feelings, but the structure did help me excel. I graduated from high school in 3 years with a 4.0 GPA and got accepted into college at the height of the pandemic. But when I turned 19, my uncle packed up my stuff, put it on the porch, and said I needed to either join the Army or find a new place to live. I moved in with a friend and her mom and began working full-time at a warehouse at JFK. I was on my feet doing hard labor from 10 p.m. at night until 6:30 in the morning, and doing my college classes online during the day to keep up. It was tough, but I did what I had to do. Over the next 2 years, I continued to advocate for myself, moving in and out of 3 different housing placements through the foster care system. The only silver lining during that time was meeting my fiance. He was a self-described go-getter. We both grew up in strict households and wanted something different for ourselves and one day our kids. Finally, in 2023, I got a housing voucher. Every day, we would go looking at apartments, but the stigma was real. Nobody would take that voucher. Nobody wanted to take a chance on us. That's when someone said, there's this pilot program called Anthos Home that helps people with vouchers find housing. It's new, they're still figuring it out, but you should talk to them. I thought, okay, I love trying new things, let's go. That's how I became Anthos' very first client. They turned my voucher into a golden ticket. I gave them my information, and they put in the legwork. At Anthos, the faster you move, the faster they move. And thank God, because I was weeks away from aging out of the foster care system. Our bags were already packed when they said, we have an apartment available in the kind of neighborhood you asked for, close to the train, a deli on the corner, a laundromat on the same block, and a supermarket close by. Do you want to see it? I said, I don't just want to see it, I want it. When the landlord asked me what I would do with this space, I had it all planned out. A plant here, a painting over there. He liked what I had to say and trusted Anthos so much that he offered us a 2-bedroom instead. We moved in 2 days before my 21st birthday. 1 month later, I found out I was pregnant with my son. Without Anthos, I would have aged out of foster care and been living back in a shelter. But their support doesn't end when you sign the lease. Anthos bought me dressers, lamps, dishes, the whole 9 yards. When the Con Ed bill came back, and it was thousands of dollars because my account was wired to someone else's apartment, Anthos helped me resolve it. When the power went out before our first Thanksgiving, and I was pregnant, freezing, with no way to keep food from spoiling, and no one could reach the building management, Anthos got us up and running. Even when you don't have a problem, they call every few months for the first year to ask if there's anything you need. And it's not just me. Over the last 2 years, Anthos has helped 840 people with housing vouchers find a place to call home in New York City. And their retention rate is 100%. It's hard to do better than that. Right now, I'm working as an administrative assistant, completed my pharmacy tech credential, and soon will have my license from the state. I want to work in a pediatric hospital in labor and delivery and eventually become a specialist in the pharmacy lab. They are more well-respected and they get paid more. But the best part is, we have a safe, stable place for our son, Nair. Not comfortable, but stable. My parents were too comfortable with where they were. We want to stay uncomfortable enough to achieve our dreams. Eventually, we want a house with a yard, a place for Nair to run around, one that we could look back at and say, he moved in here when he was 2 years old. And when he needs a tire fixed after he gets his driver's license, or a TV hung up on the wall of his college dorm, when he needs to learn how to pay his first bill or sign his own lease, we will be there to guide him the way Anthos guided me. In so many ways, Anthos was the parent I needed, the parent I never had. In closing, I want to express my deepest gratitude to everyone at Anthos Home and all of you for supporting organizations like Robin Hood and New Yorkers like me. I want to thank every person who encouraged me, let me stay for dinner, or sleep on their couch. And I want to thank my siblings for showing me that what doesn't break us makes us. Finally, I want to acknowledge my husband, who is here today, for standing by my side as we break the generational curses and cycles we inherited by providing our son with the life he deserves. Thank you.